Hello, Christian here. Holier than thou liberals and other leftists assure themselves and anyone that will listen that only they are blessed with a social conscience, while they claim to care about the well-being of the people. The other side, conservatives, Republicans, or more generally, the right, they claim, only care about their politically and economically elite base. While there are liberals and other leftists which do base their politics on their genuine principles, for most, their goal is political power, and anything they do and say is all just a means to this end. Their fellow man becomes nothing but a stepping stone towards political power. Therefore, any sympathy and empathy many liberals and others on the left may claim to have for their fellow man is false, and any tears they may shed for him being those of crocodiles. This is a certainty crystallized in cataclysmic times, which many of these individuals always appear ready to exploit for their own agenda. Many of these individuals, it seems, have a sadistic, ruthless, anthropophagus hunger for catastrophes that present them a smorgasbord of human victims to satisfy their Machiavellian political hunger. Like cannibals, steeping in and gorging on the blood and flesh of their victims, many liberals and other leftists feast upon the victims of calamity to nourish their lust for political gain. Hence, the apparently automated reaction to Lee Loughner's shooting rampage in Tucson, Arizona, by many liberals who see in the tragedy the perfect platform from which to provoke opposition against their hated conservative foes, perhaps paving the way for an electoral victory in 2012. In a desperate attempt to rid themselves of the bitterness of their intellectual and political poverty and failure, and feed their void for political relevance and power, many liberals and other leftists thus immediately began dining on the barely fallen victims of Loughner's fury, exploiting and politicizing their death by pinning the blame for it on Republicans, conservatives, or the right. More specifically, they have blamed the latter's rhetoric and imagery, defining it as divisive, hateful, extremist, and inciting violence against Democrats and other liberals and leftists. Thus, those who produced it, according to liberals, are responsible for any violence against those whom it is directed. This is not only desperate palaver from perfunctory people, but also question-begging. What constitutes rhetoric and imagery that is divisive, hateful, extremist, and incite violence, and its link with violence against liberals has been determined by liberals according to their own subjective political agenda and ideology, and thus is not something on which we can base objective reality. The fact is, not one violent act has ever been successfully attributed to the language or imagery used by anyone on the right. Rather, the connection between the two is simply the fallacious and unproven allegation of those on the left, passed off as true by them. These liberals and others on the left cannot further their old, tired, and failed political platform, which has been rejected by the voting public, through intelligent, intellectual, and rational means, and thus desperately engage in cold, callous, calculating, cannibalistic, manipulative exploitation of tragedy, including the use of lies, fear-mongering, blood libeling, well poisoning, and character assassination to foment and further irrational opposition against those holding contesting beliefs and ideologies. An opposition which, if we are to follow liberal logic, will only manufacture the same type of violent activity they claim to abhor, condemn, and want to end. There are reports now that death threats against Sarah Palin has reached unprecedented levels. Perhaps we should be blaming liberals and other leftists for their demonization, lies, and quote mining of Palin, particularly following the Tuscon shooting. But we won't, because we understand that these people who commit violent actions must be held accountable for their actions rather than looking to point fingers at third parties. Until next time, God bless you.